Northern Ontario MP Charlie Angus has officially joined the leadership race of the New Democratic Party. He was first elected as an MP in 2004 and has held the seat in Timmins, James Bay ever since. Angus is a punk and folk musician, lead singer for the Canadian band Grievous Angels, and he announced his leadership bid yesterday afternoon at Toronto's Horseshoe Tavern. And we were just talking, he's here in studio. Charlie Angus, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking about choosing and selecting that venue in particular because of your musical background.
You know, the very first show I ever snuck into was, I was 15 years old, and it was the infamous Last Pogo show where they tried to shut down the punk rock scene in Toronto, and I didn't know what to expect. And I showed up there, and I thought, the world doesn't have to be the way I was taught it was. Things can be different. And so, going back to my roots, I played the Horseshoe many times. But it's also, I want to send a message that, you know, if we're going to do some social change in Canada, we can do it with artists, we can do it with working people, we can have a lot of fun. So to me, the Horseshoe it's such an iconic venue, and it was like coming home.
All right, and you're talking about change, so let's talk about that. Renewing the NDP, how do you plan to rebuild the party?
I think we're in a really interesting and disturbing time, certainly with the election of Donald Trump. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. I mean, the whole political order across the world seems to be thrown upside down. And people want to know, is it possible to believe in better? Is it possible to believe in a more inclusive world rather than just this race to the political bottom? And I think it is. But I think what we need to do is we've got to start talking brass tacks. A lot of Canadians don't feel that when they hear politicians talk, that they hear people talking about them or talking about real issues. So I think I'm more of a straight shooter, and I think we got to get out and we got to engage and we got to stir some things up and get people feeling like change could actually happen.
I've heard that you've said about yourself, you've never considered yourself a politician, never thought you were going to go in this direction. How do you find yourself here today?
I find that each step of the way that I've come in politics is because someone needed to step up, something had to get done. Yeah, I've never thought of myself as wanting to just come to Ottawa to sit in the big comfy chair. I went to make change. I went to speak for the people that I represent, and I have a heck of a lot of fun doing it. And I have always, my team that I work with are on fire. I want people empowered. I want them getting out and getting things done, making a difference. And as long as I can do that, then politics for me is something, it's an honorable profession and it should be honorable. And so I want to bring that drive to the national leadership race of the NDP.
You've said this, and I'm going to quote, to bring a little bit of class back to Canadian politics, you've also said, quote, stand up for people who feel they've been written off the political and economic map of this country. So what makes you the person that Canada needs? What
we're talking about now is, you know, in Ottawa all the time they talk middle class, middle class, middle class. But my parents joined the middle class in their 40s. My dad was the son of a miner. He didn't get to go to school till he saved enough money and he was 40 years old. That was the middle class. We talk about the middle class today. We're talking about people, white collar and blue collar, endless short-term contracts, high student debt, unable to buy homes in the cities they love. We've got to start putting those issues on the agenda. So when we're talking about the new class issues, let's talk about the kind of perpetual cycle of temp work that people are faced with, because we're holding back a generation of Canadians from making the kind of lives that they deserve.
Let's talk about the millennial generation, to be specific. They're coming face to face with not a lot of job prospects, a lot of student debt, lower wages. They're not going to be able to save properly for retirement. So how do you plan to turn that around if you're elected?
Well, number one, we got to start talking about it in Ottawa. Like when the finance minister just says, hey, this is the new normal, suck it up. Well, that's not good enough. The reason that we have massive student debt, the reason that we have this perpetual cycle of short-term contracts are an endless series of policies that always favor those at the top of the economic food chain and tell everyone else just get by. I don't believe that that's the way we can move forward as a society. So I want to start putting these issues on the table, and we can start to tackle these issues. Is it going to be easy? No. It's going to take a long time to undo what's been done over the last 20 years that's undermined the quality of life for Canadians. But if we start that conversation and we show some determination, we can make some real change.
Let's talk specifics. What other policies are you going to campaign on?
Well, you know, I'm very passionate about what's happening to Indigenous children. I launched on the 5th anniversary of Shannon's Dream, the dream to make sure that every Indigenous child in this country gets the same opportunities, and the kids are still waiting. You know, reconciliation, the government makes it sound like it's some kind of hashtag. Reconciliation is about making sure that every kid in this country, whether they're on a reserve or in a city, gets the same opportunities. And reconciliation is going to happen on my watch because we have to make this happen.
All right, there's only two in the race right now, you and Julian. Quickly, how do you stack up?
Well, Peter and I go back a long way. He's a passionate guy. He's a brainiac in terms of policy. I'm more of a street guy. But you're going to see Guy Caron come in the race very soon, and Guy's a smart guy out of Quebec, and you're going to see some more. So things are going to start to pick up. We waited and waited and waited. Now the race is on. Things are going to start to move.
All right. Well, we do appreciate you stopping by your morning and chatting with us.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much. Now,
Thank
to remind everybody, the first official NDP candidates debate is scheduled for March 12th in Ottawa.